It's a done deal after After a marathon voting session, the House passing President Trump's massive budget package.
David, it cleared just one day ahead of the president's July 4th deadline, and he is expected to sign the deal today. NBC's Julie Serkin has the latest from Washington.
After a week of twists and turns, strong-arm tactics, and backroom deals, President Trump's signature tax cuts and spending bill is headed to his desk to be signed into law.
The motion is adopted.
The final House vote coming one day before a Trump-imposed July 4th deadline and hours after the bill appeared to be in trouble, with hardline fiscal conservatives and other Republicans threatening to vote no. But ultimately, the bill passed with no changes.
A lot of members genuinely needed time to digest what the Senate sent over.
House leaders credit the president with convincing holdouts to get in line.
He was, directly engaged. He was available. If anybody had a question, they could go straight to him.
With little power to stop it, House Democrats slammed the so-called Big Beautiful Bill during floor debate.
My House Republican colleagues, have you no shame?
And delayed the vote by hours.
House Democrats are going to stand up.
8.5 hours, to be clear, because Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries set a new record for the longest floor speech in history. Democrats in the minority could not stop the bill from passing, but Jeffries says the fight is not over.
That no matter what the outcome is on this singular day, we're going to press on. We're going to press on.
The bill makes permanent the 2017 Trump tax cuts, slashes funding for Medicaid and food aid programs. It increases funding for border security and the military. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates the bill will add more than $3 trillion to the national debt and will strip health care coverage from more than 11 million people. Republicans dismiss those projections.
Unleashing a rising tide of prosperity, securing our border, modernizing our national defense, and supercharging energy, agriculture, all the sectors of our economy.
In Washington, Julie Serkin, NBC News.
So here's the question. What does this bill mean for Ohioans? Well, you heard her mention that the bill could strip nearly 12 million Americans of health care coverage. Now the Ohio Health Care Association is raising the alarm about proposed changes to how states receive federal funding to reimburse health systems that treat Medicaid recipients. The executive director explains the funding changes could force places like hospitals and skilled nursing facilities to make some hard decisions.
If you're a Medicaid provider and the state says, well, we're going to cut your rate by, let's say it's 10%, then you have to look at, okay, can I afford to serve this person who has a lot of needs? Or do they need, can I just not afford to take care of them?
Well, federal funding cuts from the spending bill could have a major impact on Ohio colleges and universities as well. The Chronicle of Higher Education reports Case Western Reserve University could lose nearly $39 million, $16 million for the University of Cincinnati, and $50 million for The Ohio State University. Educators warn the cuts could set research back decades and force faculty and students to leave the state.
Tonight, breaking news as we come on. A huge victory for President Trump. That massive spending and tax cut bill clearing the final hurdle. Severe storms right now threatening the Northeast as millions travel for July 4th. And a juror in the Sean Diddy Combs trial speaks out. First tonight, House Republicans passing that major spending bill.
Vote yes on the bill.
By the slimmest of votes. President Trump speaking late today, saying the bill gives him more power now than in his first term. The bill including cuts to Medicaid, which could cause an estimated 11.8 million Americans to lose their health care. Even some Republicans concerned about the price tag, adding trillions to the national debt. In a historic speech, Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries blasting the measure for more than 8 hours on the House floor. Mary Bruce standing by at the White House. Severe storms slamming the Northeast as we come on, with millions hitting the roads and the skies during a record holiday travel crush. Also developing tonight, we're tracking a tropical system threatening the Southeast that could wash out holiday plans. Our weather team timing it all out. A deadly explosion levels a home in Southern California. Fireworks suspected, one person killed as authorities search for the missing from that massive blast at a fireworks warehouse in Northern California. For the first time tonight, a juror in the Sean Diddy Combs trial speaks out. What they say led to the verdict and the impact of Combs' celebrity. Aaron Katersky with new reporting. Tonight, the high-stakes call between President Trump and Vladimir Putin. What we're learning as Russia's war on Ukraine rages. Dramatic new video, the daring rescue on Mount Washington after a hiker fell 60 feet. A soccer superstar killed in a fiery Lamborghini crash. And remembering two acting legends, one who starred in some of Hollywood's most memorable films, the other you'll remember from Star Wars.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday night. I'm Wade Johnson in for David. We begin tonight with a defining moment for President Trump, the House delivering the first major legislative victory of his second term, passing his mega spending bill, the core of his domestic agenda. Late today, President Trump celebrating on his way to an event in Iowa after pressuring holdouts within his own party. He's now trying to sell the bill to the American people. House Speaker Mike Johnson swinging the gavel once the votes were counted. He worked around the clock to make this victory happen. Only 2 Republicans voting against the bill. The package includes sweeping tax cuts and cuts to Medicaid, which could cause an estimated 11.8 million Americans to lose their health care. It's expected to add $3.4 trillion to the national debt over 10 years. The bill, with no Democratic support, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries taking to the floor for what's known as the Magic Minute. He ended up speaking for more than 8.5 hours, breaking a modern-day record. President Trump insisting the bill is going to be really great for the American people and saying he has more power now than he did in his first term. ABC's chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce leads us off.
Tonight, a triumphant President Trump celebrating his major legislative victory.
It's going to make this country into a rocket ship. It's going to be really great.
After a hard-fought battle, the bill at the heart of Trump's agenda eking through the House to cheers of USA.
On this vote, the yeas are 218, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
Trump watching closely from the White House, but it did not come easy. The president and the speaker twisting arms and cajoling members of their own party into the early morning hours. Both hardline conservative Republicans and moderates angry that the bill could add $3.4 trillion to the debt over the next decade. And concerned cuts to Medicaid could force an estimated 11.8 million people to lose their insurance. Numbers the White House disputes.
It wasn't beautiful enough for me to vote for it.
Thomas Massie of Kentucky and Brian Fitzpatrick from a Pennsylvania district carried by Kamala Harris, the only 2 Republicans to vote no. The president personally working the phones and lobbying the other holdouts, even handing out Trump swag and signing autographs for some of them.
Yeah, he signed a bunch of stuff. It's cool.
To get them on board, the president making assurances and threats, promising to primary anyone who stood in his way. R.J. O'Brien asking what swayed them.
We got a package that I think would have turned out better than what we would have gotten had we sent this bill back.
But is that caving?
Winning is caving? Well, if winning is caving, then I guess we caved.
The bill includes roughly $4 trillion in tax cuts, mostly for wealthy Americans, and new spending on immigration enforcement. It also fulfills Trump's campaign promise to eliminate taxes on tips and overtime. And it guts Biden-era clean energy initiatives. And to pay for it all, the bill making those cuts to Medicaid and reducing food assistance for poor Americans. Democrats united against it.
And I'm planning to take my sweet time.
Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries railing against the bill on the House floor for a record-breaking 8 hours and 44 minutes.
Shame on this institution if this bill passes. That's not America. We're better than this.
The president in Iowa tonight touting his win and selling it to the American people.
And tonight, here I am. Okay, promises count.
With a Planet Fitness Black Card, you don't just get a great workout, you get a great perk out because your membership is packed with perks. Get access to over 2,400 clubs, bring a friend anytime, and more. Work out and perk out with the PF Black Card. Join today for only $24.99 a month.
The president now plans to sign this bill into law here at the White House tomorrow afternoon, meeting his own July 4th deadline. That event will be attended by members of Congress and party leadership and will include a flyover by a B-2 bomber, the same plane used in that recent U.S. strike against Iran. Whit?
Mary Bruce at the White House for us. Thank you. Now to those severe storms moving across the Northeast at this hour, with millions traveling for the long July 4th weekend. Heavy rain, damaging winds, large hail, and lightning from New York to Boston. Millions of passengers flying out today. Storms threatening to delay or cancel flights at major airports. More than 72 million people expected to drive or fly over the holiday. Here's ABC's Morgan Norwood.
Tonight, severe storms threatening to derail holiday travel for the millions making that last dash for the 4th of July. Tornado sirens sounding near Ithaca, New York. Ground stops issued for a time at several Northeast airports.
Damaging wind gusts, the biggest area of concern. Frequent lightning, always an area of concern.
The FAA says today is going to be their busiest, with more than 51,000 flights set to take off. Our Stephanie Ramos caught up with Julianne and Amanda, getting an early start at Newark Airport on their way to Key West.
We were a little nervous about that delay in United flights at Newark because of the air traffic controllers, but it seems like everything's fixed itself.
Roads around New York City today turned to parking lots, thanks to gas prices now 37 cents a gallon lower than last year, according to Gas Buddy.
Give yourself about an hour or two ahead of time because there's traffic out there, and it's coming.
And Whit, now that the rush to get away is over, the real gridlock begins. Sunday and Monday will be the worst for drivers. Meanwhile, TSA is anticipating its busiest day on Sunday as well, with nearly 3 million passengers hustling through screening checkpoints. Whit?
All right, we'll brace for that. Morgan, thank you. Let's get right to meteorologist Jeff Smith from our New York station WABC. And Jeff, those storms, they're firing up right now.
Yeah, and these storms moving into the I-95 corridor at a very inopportune time during the Thursday evening rush, the holiday rush, no matter. And we're talking about storms that are capable of 80-mile-per-hour winds in some cases, large hail, central New Jersey, up to the New York City area, up into parts of Connecticut and Rhode Island as well. That watch goes until 10 p.m. Luckily, this will all be clearing out in time for the 4th of July holiday for the Northeast. Where things will not be clearing out is along the southeast coast and in Florida in particular. National Hurricane Center flagging a 60% chance for tropical development off of the Florida coast during the next several days. Even if nothing tropical develops, there's still going to be rounds of showers and thunderstorms. Elsewhere across the country, East Coast and West Coast, East Coast other than Florida and West Coast looking nice, a lot of sunshine. The heat is on in the Midwest, Minneapolis to Chicago, 92 and 93 respectively. Maybe some thunderstorms from Montana all the way down to Texas and Witt. Again, here in the Northeast, those storms clearing out should be ideal viewing conditions for the fireworks tomorrow night in the city.
We like to hear that. Jeff Smith, thank you. Tonight, firefighters are responding to a string of massive fireworks explosions across the U.S. from California to New Mexico to Massachusetts. One person possibly killed in a house explosion. 7 people still missing in a warehouse blast. Here's ABC's Trevor Ault.
Tonight, authorities say fireworks caused this deadly home explosion in Southern California. Firefighters are still working to extinguish the blaze. The blast reportedly happening in the garage of this Simi Valley home. At least one person was killed. It comes as we're seeing new video showing the moment a fireworks warehouse exploded Tuesday, rocking a rural town outside Sacramento. 7 people remain unaccounted for. Sienna Ruiz says her boyfriend Jesus, along with his two brothers, were all working inside at the time. One of those brothers, Junior Melendez, a father of a young child, seen here. Ruiz says it was her boyfriend's first day on the job.
I'm just praying to God some way, somehow, that, that they're okay.
The two are also expecting their first child. Investigators are using unmanned aircrafts to survey the rubble from a distance.
We cannot move forward and risk any more injury to anyone else on this scene.
And there's been several other fireworks incidents ahead of July 4th. On Cape Cod, video shows the moment a fireworks display prematurely exploded at a country club, injuring 4 people. And authorities say fireworks caused this fiery house explosion in Albuquerque, leaving 2 people with burns.
And we have received a statement from the company in that fireworks warehouse explosion. They say our hearts and thoughts are with those we lost, and they are cooperating with the investigation. Whit.
Trevor Ault, thank you. And on the eve of the July 4th holiday, authorities are on high alert. The FBI warning about the potential of lone wolf terror attacks in the U.S. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, the nation's police on high alert. Increasing security in the air, on the streets, and the waterways. The FBI and Homeland Security warns the potential for lone wolf attacks on Independence Day.
We continue to operate in a heightened threat environment due to tensions overseas and across the country.
New bulletins reveal authorities are concerned that lone wolf attackers might conduct mass shootings or use cars or even drones as weapons.
The threats posed by weaponized drones are real and growing.
Authorities reacting to a stunning pace of high-profile attacks in recent months.
Be vigilant, hyper-vigilant, if you will. If you see something, say something.
While no specific plot has been identified, with authorities simply are taking no chances.
Pierre Thomas, thank you.
What if you can create your own website by saying, "This is what I want"? With Wix, you can.
Now to the first juror speaking out following that split verdict in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Combs found not guilty of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking. The jury convicting him on 2 lesser counts. One juror revealing what was behind their decision, saying it had nothing to do with Combs and his celebrity status. Here's ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky.
Tonight, for the first time since rendering a split verdict in the trial of Sean Combs, one of the jurors is speaking out, telling ABC News Combs' celebrity had no influence on the outcome. Our decision was based solely on the evidence presented and how the law is stated, said the juror, who asked not to be identified. We would have treated any defendant in the same manner, regardless of who they are. The jury convicted Combs of 2 counts of transportation for the purposes of prostitution. They carry a maximum sentence of up to 20 years in prison, though he will likely get less. The jury found him not guilty of the most serious charges of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking.
One thing stands between all of us and a prison, and that is a jury of 12 citizens. And we had a wonderful jury. They listened to every word, and they got the situation right, or certainly right enough.
Combs remains here at this Brooklyn jail after a judge denied his request for bail, citing a propensity for violence and saying Combs poses a danger to the community. Combs' lawyers will try to convince the judge at a hearing next week to move up his sentencing from its tentatively scheduled date in October. They're hoping to get him out from behind bars as quickly as possible. Whit.
Aaron Katersky, thank you. Next tonight, the Trump administration now sending 200 Marines to Florida to help federal immigration enforcement officers there. The Pentagon says it's part of the plan to deploy 700 troops to Florida, Louisiana, and Texas. About 100 National Guard members have already been assigned to the newly opened detention center in Florida that officials are calling Alligator Alcatraz. ICE agents also arresting a well-known Mexican boxer, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., for allegedly being in the U.S. illegally. The Department of Homeland Security says he has ties to a Mexican drug cartel and will be deported. It comes just days after his fight with Jake Paul. Now to that high-stakes call between President Trump and Vladimir Putin, the Russian leader rejecting a ceasefire in Ukraine. President Trump is set to speak with President Zelensky tomorrow. All of this coming after the Trump administration suspended shipments of some key weapons to Ukraine, including vital air defense. Here's ABC's Tom Sufi Burridge.
Tonight, dramatic videos circulating online capturing another deadly Russian assault on Ukraine. 2 killed and dozens injured in Poltava. It comes as President Trump and Vladimir Putin held a high-stakes call today, Putin doubling down, telling Trump, according to the Kremlin, that Russia will not retreat from its war aims, an indication Russian forces could expand their offensive this summer. Late today, President Trump weighing in.
No, I didn't make any progress with them today at all.
More than 3 years after Russia's invasion, Trump's repeated attempts to broker a ceasefire have so far failed to bring the conflict to an end. At such a critical moment in the war, Russia welcoming news the US has halted shipments of some vital weapons to Ukraine. US officials calling that decision part of a broader review of munitions shipments to all US allies.
We can't give weapons to everybody all around the world. We have to look out for America.
And with those US weapons expected to come up when President Trump speaks to Ukrainian President Zelensky tomorrow.
Tom Sufi Burrage, our thanks to you tonight. Back here in the U.S., a strong showing for the American economy. The U.S. adding more than 147,000 jobs last month, better than expected. Unemployment ticking down to 4.1%. The report making it less likely the Fed will cut interest rates later this month. The jobs report giving a solid boost to the stock market as well. The Dow up 344 points. The Nasdaq and S&P 500 posting record highs for the third time this week. When we come back, a major soccer star dies in a fiery crash, remembering an acting legend who starred in some of the most iconic films in recent years. And just ahead, the dramatic rescue on Mount Washington, the New Hampshire National Guard airlifting an injured climber after a 60-foot fall. Next tonight, the pilot of a skydiving plane that crashed in New Jersey praised for skillfully bringing the plane down and saving lives after an engine problem. The plane crashing into a wooded area, at least 14 people hurt, some critically. Several victims covered in jet fuel. They had to be decontaminated on site. The NTSB is now investigating. And a daring rescue tonight on New Hampshire's Mount Washington, a National Guard helicopter reaching a rock climber who had fallen 60 feet, suffering what are believed to be serious injuries. A member of the Guard team helping to bring the victim aboard, the man flown to a hospital for treatment. When we come back, the latest on the soccer superstar killed in a fiery crash and remembering an actor from the first Star Wars movies. To the Index now, fans around the world are mourning the death of Portuguese soccer star Diogo Jota. The 28-year-old who played for Liverpool died with his brother in a car crash in Spain overnight. Police say his Lamborghini veered off the road and burst into flames. And British actor Kenneth Colley, best known for his role in the original Star Wars films, has died. His agent says he died of pneumonia after contracting COVID. Colley played the Imperial officer in charge of the Death Star. His career spanned 60 years on stage, screen, and television. Kenneth Colley was 87. When we come back, a look back at the career of the legendary actor Michael Madsen. Finally tonight, from Reservoir Dogs to Thelma and Louise, Michael Madsen mastered the roles he played. He was a prolific actor known for playing menacing characters in Quentin Tarantino's most popular movies.
Hey, what's going on? You hear that?
Michael Madsen as the cruel criminal Mr. Blonde in Tarantino's 1992 directorial debut, Reservoir Dogs. The two would cross paths frequently in Hollywood, appearing in the Kill Bill films.
That woman deserves her revenge.
And The Hateful Eight.
You're writing your life story. You bet I am.
His decades-long acting career included roles in over 300 films.
All missiles enabled.
But he wasn't always the tough guy.
You love somebody else?
In Thelma and Louise, playing Louise's love interest, Jimmy.
I'm not going to tell anybody anything, and I'm not going to say that I even saw you.
Madsen was born in Chicago. Over the years, he'd struggled with alcohol and addiction. Aside from acting, he was also a published poet. In 2020, after receiving a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Madsen reflecting on his career.
Many, many years ago, I came to California. I didn't know what I was going to do at that point with myself. I could have been a bricklayer. I could have been an architect. I could have been a garbage man. I could have been nothing. But I got lucky. I got lucky as an actor.
Madsen's manager saying he died unexpectedly today after he was found unresponsive in his Malibu home. Michael Madsen was 67. And his sister, actress Virginia Madsen, describing him as mischief wrapped in tenderness. Thanks for watching tonight. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.
Need a toolkit? Here's 3 great options from Harbor Freight. The Pittsburgh 130-piece kit is compact, portable, and packed with essentials, perfect for home repairs and DIYers. The 225-piece Mechanics Toolkit provides more specialty tools for even greater versatility. And finally, this 301-piece Mechanics Toolkit includes the most used automotive and mechanics tools. No matter what you're working on, find the toolkit you need at Harbor Freight.
Have you ever wondered how the world's currencies are traded? The foreign exchange market, also known as the Forex market, is the
I'm Montse Alvarado. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly. Final countdown. House Republicans work through the night to push the president's big, beautiful bill to the finish line. We discuss what's in the bill. Back to work. Encouraging numbers for the labor market as the unemployment rate falls. Mass controversy. A new report surfaces on what led Pope Francis to restrict the traditional Latin Mass. We have a report from Rome. And a return to tradition. The locals around Castel Gandolfo prepare to welcome Pope Leo XIV. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us on the feast of St. Thomas the Apostle. Our top story tonight, a big win for Republicans in Congress. House Republicans have finally pushed President Trump's multi-trillion-dollar tax and spending bill over the finish line. But it wasn't easy, and the bill's fate hung in the balance for hours overnight as GOP leaders finally convinced GOP holdouts to back the bill. House Speaker Mike Johnson announced the final vote.
On this vote, the yeas are 218, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
Speaker Johnson was relieved that it was finally over.
Everything was an absolute disaster under the Biden-Harris radical, woke, progressive Democrat regime. And we took the best effort that we could in one big, beautiful bill to fix as much of it as we could. And I am so grateful to God.
Others agree.
Over 14 months of hard work, deliberation, compromise, things that nobody will be happy with the entire bill, but most of us understand that that's compromise, that's democracy at work. We are better off for this.
Not so, say Democrats. Before the vote, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries bashed Republicans over Medicaid cuts, which could affect millions.
As a result of the lack of health care that will result directly from this one big ugly bill, people in America will die. Unnecessary deaths. That is outrageous.
Congresswoman Jen Kiggins is a nurse practitioner.
So I understand Medicaid very much so. I also know this program needs to be strengthened and preserved, and that's what Republicans have tried to do. We've tried to tweak it, put work requirements in there so people who are able-bodied adults can go to work so they don't need to be receiving Medicaid.
Pro-life lawmakers cheered the defunding of Planned Parenthood for a year.
Being a business guy, I also know that 1 year of defunding will disrupt Planned Parenthood. And I also hope that we come back next year with another reconciliation package and make it permanent.
Catholic Congressman Dan Muser agrees.
Well, I don't think Planned Parenthood should receive any federal funds, any taxpayer dollars. I think that they, in many cases, are a rogue organization. They pretend or portend to do good for the communities.
Democrats say Republicans are going to pay at the polls.
It's an abomination, and they will pay for it at the ballot box next year when Democrats take the majority back because people are going to rebel.
Republican leaders are already talking about a second reconciliation bill dealing with entitlement programs. It's celebration time at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue tonight. For President Donald Trump, the passing of the bill represents a pinnacle achievement and defining political moment. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt